Greetings, everybody. Thanks for joining me for another edition of Electric Avenue's YouTube updates. If you follow this channel, you'll know that I do these every week. This is June 14th, 2024. Um, as you probably noticed, last week you got a bonus video from me after reading that list of 100 best albums of all time posted by Apple Music. I felt the need to sort of respond with my own top 20, trying to kind of take out some of the somewhat commercial aspects of the list or the cultural designations of things, and just thinking about it more solely on musical terms for my ears, um, as someone who's listened to music pretty intensely for many, many years, and also sort of excusing obviously things about my era because, as someone pointed out, they said, well, you're obviously a little bit like a centrist on the time frames more. And that's definitely the case. I think we're all sort of, as the person put it, a product and a victim of our of our era. So, but I did sort of feel like I wanted to kind of stress that I think that there are a lot of albums, sort of musical albums in the 80s, 90s, 2000s that are some of the greatest albums that are ever made or were ever made that are worthy of being mentioned. When a lot of times we tend to focus on the originators, and the originators are great. Without the originators, we wouldn't have those other albums. Sometimes it's just taking those things and building on them. And if anyone wants to discuss with me why did you choose this or whatever, I'd be more than happy to give my reasons for those things. I really thought about it for a while, and I kind of went through them as like, what did those albums say specifically that made them special in a way? And the other thing I would mention is that that list wasn't necessarily my favorite albums. They were the albums that I consider to be the best albums ever made, whether they be from an engineering mixed with artistic standpoint. A lot of people would say, oh, I can't believe there wasn't like a Steely Dan record on there, because those are some really wonderfully engineered records. Maybe in some ways, artistically, they didn't hit me the same way as some of the other things, or they're things that I respect, but maybe just didn't fall in the top 20 for me. So, and on the list, I think I had David Sylvian's Secrets of the Beehive around number 15, and Favorites, that's like a top 3 album for me. So different parameters for different reasons. All right, that being said, let me get to the new releases for this week. I've got a lot to show you. It's a very eclectic sort of weekend. We're kind of running into the Father's Day holiday, so there might be some gift ideas for dads or whatever here. But all right, so the first thing I have to show, I didn't get a lot of these, but they're very nice, is the new David Bowie, Rock and Roll Star. And this is a book and CD set. This is 5 CDs and a Blu-ray. And these are the recordings that went into making, led up to the Ziggy Stardust album. So, very nice box. I think it's probably the nicest looking of maybe all of the Bowie sets that I've seen come out in person. But anyway, so what does this include? Well, 5 CD and 1 Blu-ray audio set that explores his journey through the creation of the Ziggy character, starting with early songwriting demos, recordings from the Arnold Corns and Haddon Hall rehearsals, through BBC sessions and performances, singles and live performances, outtakes and alternative versions, newly mixed by Ken Scott. The Blu-ray features the definitive 2012 remaster of the original Ziggy Stardust album, in high bit format, plus the album and additional mixes from 2003 DTS HD Master 5.1. It also includes a version of the album from the tapes dated December 1971. I believe that was the version that was featured on Record Store Day this year, with the different running order and 4 songs that didn't make the final album, as well as the singles, outtakes, and alternative versions. 112-page booklet, detailed liner notes, and yeah, a 36-page compiled reproduction of David Ziggy Stardust notebooks. Uh, I'd say this is probably like a must-have for a Ziggy fan, but it's not cheap. 140 bucks as a CD set. Now, if you're more of a casual fan or you want vinyl, of course, I don't know why they didn't do a big vinyl set of that. I think that's been sort of a complaint with some of the Bowie reissues. Ooh, I should just keep this on. This is good lighting. Is the vinyl version of this, which is one record. It's a highlights version, basically. But it's very nice. It has so it has either alternate versions or session takes of these songs, and this is so this is not the Ziggy album. The Hunky Dory one that was released kind of mirrored that album's running order with a couple alternative things. This one is completely different. Starts with Hang On to Yourself instead of 5 Years. 5 Years is not on this. And Star, Lady Stardust, Shadow Man, The Supermen, Holy Holy, Round and Round. Then side 2, Velvet Goldmine, Looking for a Friend, It's Gonna Rain Again, Sweethead, Starman, John, I'm Only Dancing, and I Can't Explain. So it's definitely like a different piece, but pretty cool. If you're a Bowie fan, it's a sad time to be alive because he's not here, and it's a great time to be alive because we're getting to hear all this stuff that we probably wouldn't have heard otherwise at this point. So, all right. Next thing, Paul McCartney and Wings, more vault plundering here with the one hand clapping. Now this is live studio sessions from 1974, newly mixed and available for the first time. This is a 2 LP, includes Band on the Run, Junior's Farm, Let It Be, and The Long and Winding Road. So these were for a TV special that they were going to do, and then either it didn't happen or something, but the stuff was scrapped and nobody ever really heard this stuff. So it's finally out. Features my favorite Jet. People know I don't like that song. Maybe I'm Amazed. Great song. My Love. All right. Let's see what else is on here. Live and Let Die. So I don't know. I think that this Lady Madonna I see featured. Wildlife. Hi, hi, hi. Go Now. This is definitely something for McCartney aficionados, and it's also on CD. So, all right. This is the week of like a lot of reissues. Little Feats Don't Fail Me Now. This is a deluxe edition of this as well. And so it features the album, and then there's a second record of rarities, and same thing with the CD. There's a bunch of rarities on the second disc. Let's see. So features on rarities: Brickyard Blues, outtake, Feats Don't Fail Me Now, alternative version. Rock and Roll Doctor, alternate version, Spanish Moon, alternate version. You're getting sort of different songs and different versions of them. 1974 classic album recut from the original master tapes, and LP2 previously unreleased outtakes and rare tracks from the vaults. Lacquer's cut by Bernie Grundman. Happy 50th anniversary to that one, by the way. And was McCartney also 70? That was 74 also. So 2 50th anniversaries there. Hard to believe, isn't it? Don't you all feel old who lived through that? How about something that makes me feel old? This is like the 30th anniversary for this album. Seal 2. Nice that we're getting a vinyl version of this without the CDs attached. The first record they reissued a year ago, and it had 3 or 4 CDs packed with it, which was nice because you got to hear all of those extra tracks. Some of them were just remixes though, and the packaging made it kind of difficult to open the record and get it out. This is much more simple packaging, and yeah, I love these photos of him, especially with his sort of iconic face scarring from the illness that he had when he was young. But this is probably, if not his greatest album, it's certainly the first two are the most iconic. And this one featured Joni Mitchell on the song "If I Could," a very beautiful duet. Also, Trevor Horn produced it. He produced the first three, and then sort of he came back for different albums. But of Yes and Buggles' Video Killed the Radio Star fame, and many other things. Frankie Goes to Hollywood's Relax he produced. Anyway, so he did this record, and features Kiss from a Rose, which was Seal's biggest hit. Also features Prayer for the Dying, which was an incredible song about AIDS, the AIDS crisis. Those were both pretty big hits. Don't Cry was another single from this that did pretty well. Newborn Friend was a single. And then there's actually a second record. So they've spread the album over three sides. And then on the fourth side, put rarities. So we get Love is Powerful, his cover of Manic Depression featuring Jeff Beck, which is pretty dang good. Blues in E, The Wind Cries Mary, so Hendrix there, and Fly Like an Eagle as a bonus, this, which was a big hit for him also, his cover version of the Steve Miller song. So really great record. That one's worthy of your time. Glad to see it back. All right, some new releases. I'm 11 minutes in and I haven't done a new album yet. The Decemberists, and they're back. As It Ever Was, So It Will Be Again. Decemberists, sort of, one of their members had a battle with cancer, and they sort of disappeared for quite a while, and are finally back. I love this album cover, by the way. I think it's really beautiful. And this is the indie retail exclusive 2 LP on Fruit Punch colored vinyl. Includes limited edition Illimat card and a lyric book. Can't say that. I don't know what an Illimat card is. This does feature on it's 4 sides. And the fourth side features the 20-minute track that they previewed this album with, Joan in the Garden. So there's quite a bit of material on here. It seems like they've been saving up for quite a while. So that's exciting. Another new album this week, Mike Campbell and the Dirty Knobs. You would know Mike from his work in Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers. This is the third Dirty Knobs album, Vagabonds, Virgins, and Misfits. I don't think there's anything special color-wise or anything like that with the record, but Mike has a very iconic sound. This picture reminds me so much of that Tom Petty video, the Don't Come Around Here No More Alice in Wonderland video. Let's see, featuring appearances by Graham Nash, Lucinda Williams, and Chris Stapleton and Benmont Tench. Sounds like it's going to be great. So if you like Heartbreakers, a really interesting artist that I'm very fond and fascinated with, John Grant, and this is his new album, The Art of the Lie, sort of a spin on the title of some famous person's book. He's always very caustic with political stuff, stuff about his upbringing. He was in the band The Czars many years ago. Almost gave up music at one point, and then won a very prestigious prize for his work, and then continued and has mutated quite a bit. This album, of what I've heard so far, sort of goes between sort of very psychedelic, sort of electronic folk music, and then there's sort of like weird tweaked out dance pop kind of stuff, but he's got a very deep croony vocal, and he does get freaky at times, which in the best way. This album was produced by Ivor Guest, who he really enjoyed the work on Grace Jones' Hurricane, which is where he sort of contacted this person. But there's a lot of also very personal family stuff on here. Father, mother and son, daddy, The Child Catcher, and All of This School for Nothing. So they're all kind of autobiographical in a way. Um, John is sort of, I don't know if I would say this is the album to enter his career listening to, but he's a very interesting artist. So, and keeps making records. Good for him. Okay, let's see. Another John, famous John Cale. Oh my gosh, John Cale of Velvet Underground fame. John is in his early 80s now, still making very like vibrant and interesting records. Never been boring, and such an artistic force between that band and then his solo work. I love a lot of his 70s records, really great. Produced so many famous people too, like Patti Smith. And this is the album, it's called I can't even say this either, Poptic Illusion. Poptical Illusion? There we go. Poptical Illusion. It's early. And it's on exclusive indie translucent orange vinyl. I think the John Grant, by the way, was on pink vinyl. This says includes All to the Good and an alternate version of Shark Shark. I really liked his last record. I thought that was interesting. I don't know much about this. Everyone is sort of different. He's a great keyboardist and violinist. So, and guitarist. All right. This actually came out last week and it arrived late, so I feel the need to show it. Richard Thompson. Finally, the album showed up, shipped to shore. And this is a deep and diverse 12-track collection that pulls from various styles, genres, and eras, but remains unmistakably Richard Thompson. Rolling Stone named him one of the 100 greatest guitarists of all time. It's a 3-sided LP with a 4th side etching. Don't ask me why they do that. I guess because the album is like a certain way and they just want to make it so you don't have to flip so much, but still make it sound good. So, yeah, so it's been a while for him. He used to churn out records like very regularly. So, good to have Richard back. Yes, another band that we haven't heard from in like almost 10 years, Widespread Panic. And this is their new album, Snake Oil King. I can only imagine what that's about. There seems to be a lot of sort of angry political records coming out this year. The irony of this is that there's only 6 tracks. I'm sure they're probably fairly long. And it's not available on CD, at least not to us. I'm not sure why, but yeah, so 6 tracks. First album since 2015. And you get 6 tracks. They're too busy out there touring and playing all the old stuff. All right, another modern interesting band. It's a sort of a hip hop duo, Suicide Boys, and this is their new record. It's called what is it called actually? I forget the name. Oh, it's called New World Depression, and it's on opaque gray exclusive vinyl. They have a kind of an interesting story. You can tell that's political too, which I would say just look it up online and you'll kind of see what it's about. But oh look, we've got $5 bills and $9 bills. Yeah, so interesting. All right, my nephew's favorite group. So he's about 18, 19. All right. New album from Joe Bonamassa's side project, Black Country Communion. And this features Glenn Hughes, Joe Bonamassa, Jason Bonham, and Derek Sherinian. And it's on a cosmic blue marble splatter double vinyl. Includes 3 bonus live songs and a download card. So it's been kind of a while since that. I think before the pandemic, but probably sort of difficult with the pandemic and then getting their schedules lined up. This was produced by Kevin Shirley, sort of a famous producer. This is very interesting. I'm showing this. This actually came out a few weeks ago, and it kind of was a late straggler on vinyl, but it's an interesting compilation. Live on Mountain Stage, the 40th year anniversary, Outlaws and Outliers. These are like live performances from Mountain Stage, and I don't know if I sort of mentioned this, but this is getting some traction now because Wilco, their version of Bowie's Space Oddity, is getting a fair amount of play, and it's from this album. It's the first track. This also has Molly Tuttle, Tyler Childers, Lucinda Williams, Eric Church, Margot Price, Gillian Welch, Kathy Mattea, Indigo Girls, John Prine, Steve Earle, Bella Fleck, Sierra Farrell, Rhiannon Giddens, Alison Krauss, Jason Isbell. The list goes on. There's more, but those are the main ones that jump out at me. So that could be of interest to people who just want to hear like some good live music and some interesting choices for songs. We do get a new Moby album this week, and he's been pretty prolific lately, continuing to make records. Some are based on other things and whatever. This one's called Always Centered at Night, limited edition, numbered yellow vinyl. This features some interesting guests that he hasn't tapped before. Benjamin Zephaniah, Lady Blackbird, Serpent with Feet, India Carney, Jose James, Gaida, and more. So kind of eclectic, and I don't know. I assume from Always Centered at Night that it's going to be kind of a chill album, but I know Lady Blackbird. I've heard her, and what an amazing voice she has. If you like jazzy soul music or soul-y jazz music, she's great. Really other interesting band here if you're kind of into like sort of new wave and electronic type stuff, and sort of things like Nation of Language, but this new album from Walt Disco, and it's called The Warping. I love this cover. I think it's very like kind of suits the title, right? And this is the Pearl edition, and these guys are, I'm not exactly sure where they're from, but they were just out on tour with OMD as their opening act, and they're very interesting. They're sort of glam rocky, little like what do you call it? Can't think of the word. When it's sort of like blending like the genre bending sort of stuff that like, Boy George used to do, sort of like that, but very eclectic, a little more on the rock side, but still like has kind of a foot in electronic music. Interesting stuff. Check them out. So the jazz was so sparse this week. Usually we get a ton of jazz. This week I think this was the only thing. Billie Holiday, Verve Acoustic Sounds reissue of Body and Soul. It's going to sound great because Acoustic Sounds does amazing work. Manufactured at QRP. Quality. Let's see. The tunes are Body and Soul, They Can't Take That Away From Me, Darn That Dream, Let's Call the Whole Thing Off, Embraceable You, Moonlight in Vermont, etc., etc. I mean, Billie Holiday was an incredible artist. It's just I've noticed that like some people maybe huge jazz fans and aren't into vocals, and some people love the singing, and I think there are some really great jazz vocalists that are worth the attention. Another jazz reissue, I guess I should say this is a second jazz because there really were two jazz reissues this week. Chick Corea's Electric Band. There were more than two, but these were the two sort of prominent ones. This is back when Chick was playing a guitar, but it's sort of like jazz fusion. It's a step above what I would call smooth jazz for sure. It's just sort of jazz fusion using electronics or electric stuff. This guitar. Chick played that. John and R.I.P. John Patitucci on the bass, Dave Weckl on drums, Scott Henderson and Carlos Rios on guitars. So good to see that back in print. They did do a Chick Corea box set of this era, and that I don't know, that might be just lifted from the box set, but someone out there who watches these and is a Chick fan will tell me. Interestingly, so another reissue this week, and I don't know why it took Rhino so long to get this one together, but Best of the Doobie Brothers. Now, you can get this record just like the Eagles ones. If you can find them in like used stores, we tend to have those around all the time. But sometimes people want like a nice new remastered version of something that's not been touched by human hands, internally anyway. But this is like best of volume 1 and 2. So they package them together. And so it's kind of nice, like the Eagles one, where you get pretty much the whole best of from the career. It was too much to fit on one record, right? So features China Grove, Taking It to the Streets, Listen to the Music, You Belong to Me, What a Fool Believes, Minute by Minute, and more. So yeah, I see Blackwater, Long Train Running, Jesus is Just All Right, It Keeps You Running, Real Love. They had a lot of hits with and without Michael McDonald. Okay, so there's that. Another sort of prominent reissue, Monsters of Folk, and this is maybe 10 years old now. This was the meeting of four pretty big names in indie folk rock. You had Jim James of My Morning Jacket, Connor Oberst of Bright Eyes, M. Ward of She and Him, and Mike Mogus, who is a producer from that sort of central part of the country, the Omaha area, right? And I can't remember the name of the record label right now. It escapes me. As many records as I've seen on that label. Bright Eyes is on that label. Anyway, and it says back on vinyl with 5 unreleased songs from 2012 featuring Will Johnson, and it's on clear vinyl. And they put this cool cover, tinted the cover different color, and yeah. So if you don't have Monsters of Folk and you want it, now might be a good time to get it. Okay, I think these are going to be kind of popular with some people, and I think these are indie exclusives too. I'm not 100% sure, but, and I already had somebody ask about this, but the Twilight soundtracks, the first 2 are being released on vinyl. This one is the Record Store Crawl exclusive, pressed on Mercury vinyl. I think this one, for sure, this will be sort of popular because A, it's like the music of a certain era, and B, the track listing. It has 2 tracks from Paramore, Decode and I Caught Myself. It has Muse, Supermassive Black Hole, which you can get on other things. Some really great tracks, though. The Black Ghost, Full Moon, Rob Pattinson, Never Think. Yes, the actor, he does a song. Iron and Wine has a song, Flightless Bird, and has tracks from Collective Soul, Linkin Park, Mute Math, Perry Farrell. So that's the first one, and then the other one that they're releasing, and that's on Mercury color vinyl. This one is Metallic Marble vinyl, and this is Twilight Saga New Moon. This is a double record, so it's a little more expensive, but this one has a really great track listing. I forgot how much I like this soundtrack. Death Cab for Cuties, Meet Me on the Equinox, Band of Skulls Friends, Tom York's Hearing Damage, Licky Lee's Possibility, The Killers, A White Demon Love Song, Anya Marina, Satellite Heart, Muse's I Belong to You, Bon Iver and St. Vincent, Rosslyn, Black Rebel Motorcycle Club's Done All Wrong. Other tracks, Hurricane Bells, Seawolf, OK Go, Grizzly Bear, Editors, and that's a good Editors song too. No Sound But the Wind. So this might be of interest to some people. A lot of those songs are not on anything else, so it's kind of makes it something that you might think about getting if you're into any of those or you like those songs. They're good collections of songs. Another great soundtrack getting reissued this week, Napoleon Dynamite on red vinyl. This is a 2 LP, 20 years of Dynamite Summer. Can you believe 20 years old? Oh my gosh. Translucent ruby color vinyl, and Great photo. And the second record is the score for the movie, which is sort of minimal, I would say. But the actual songs here, you get certain things that are I Want Candy from Bow Wow Wow, Every Moment from Rogue Wave. What else? Sometimes You Gotta Make It Alone by Money Mark, Only You by Yaz, Canned Heat by Jamiroquai, of course, Forever Young by Alphaville, and then The Promise, of course, by When in Rome. So there's some 80s kind of songs and then some quirky songs too. Whatever happened to this guy? John Heater? I think he's still acting, right? I don't know. I don't see him as much. Maybe it's just me. Sometimes I kind of I don't have as much time for videos and movies because I'm so busy dealing with music. All right. A reissue from Joe Jackson and Todd Rundgren. This is their performance from the State Theater, New Jersey, 2005, featuring Ethel as sort of a backing band. Well, not backing, but they do the opening. They're on side A. So it's from a full concert that was given there. And yeah, Joe Jackson does Steppin' Out, Take It Like a Man, obvious song. Be My Number Two, Is She Really Going Out with Him? Todd Rundgren does Love of the Common Man. Let's see, Hello, It's Me, Bang the Drum All Day. And then they do some songs together like While My Guitar Gently Weeps, with the band Ethel playing with them. So interesting. This has been out on CD for a while. I think it's the first time I've seen it on vinyl. So more reissues. John Denver, Back Home Again, 50th anniversary, featuring Annie's song, Thank God I'm a Country Boy, Grandma's Featherbed. This was a huge album. Pretty much every parent across the Midwest had that somewhere in their collection, it seemed like. Primus, Desaturating 7. This is a 7th anniversary of an album mentioning 7. This is on Midnight Rainbow Splatter vinyl. So if you don't have this record and you like Primus, now's the time to get it because it's going to be a cool looking record. Couple of Meat Puppets reissues this week. We've got Mirage and Monsters. So a couple of early ones here. Nice to see those back in print. Yeah, some really interesting stuff. And influential. The Gossip, they just put out a new record after being apart for about a decade. And you get Beth Ditto and company doing Standing in the Way of Control. It's kind of a groovy song. This is definitely what I would call like indie dance punk, sort of. Fun stuff. And again, pretty influential and influenced. Freely's Comment, and this is second sighting. I think we're also supposed to get the first Ace Freely's Comment. That one hasn't shown up yet. These are reissues by Friday Music. They're always, I think, almost always on color vinyl. So I don't really know what the color is because again, Friday Music, not only are they, they do good work, but they never tell you anything about it. There's no sticker to say, hey, these are this color. Hey, these are whatever. They're way too nondescript, which is their failing. Julian Cope. So I'm really excited to see this starting up, and I hope they get to some of his other albums too. Peggy Suicide, Jehovah Kill. But this one, Shut Your Mouth, this is like the first one after he was sort of as he was leaving the Teardrop Explodes. And interestingly, he would have a song later called World Shut Your Mouth that was kind of a big indie hit. And that's not on this record. This is his early sort of like some kind of very psychedelic kind of stuff. Bandy's First Jump, Metronil, Vavine, Strasbourg, Elegant Chaos, Collie Kibber's Birthday, Sunshine Playroom. It's great stuff. It's really interesting, but yeah, it's not quite, he hasn't quite hit his like hit song stride yet. Another interesting reissue this week, Truth and it's self-titled Truth. Back on LP for the first time since its 1970 release. This is on Sundays, and this features. I don't know if it features anybody that I know. Oh, it's members of the Wrecking Crew. Their sole album boasts members of the Wrecking Crew along with 3 Motown producers, all experimenting with a commercial psychedelic sound that defined the end of an era. Sitar head swirlers, sunny melodic harmonies, and a country folk influences that all blend together to bring listeners to the truth. All right. Some really interesting stuff this week. Junior Parker, and this album was apparently sampled quite a bit for a lot of hip hop records. This is called Love Ain't Nothing But a Business Going On. Great cover. And it says, a much loved and heavily sampled album, originally released in 1971. It features tracks sampled by Tribe Called Quest, DJ Shadow, De La Soul, and Cypress Hill on the Mr. Bongo label. Looks amazing. Let's see, we've had, I think, this before on CD. I don't know about vinyl. Junior Wells and Blues Brothers. And this is on blue vinyl, featuring Eric Gales, Joe Louis Walker, Mike Zito, Papa Chubby, Kirk Fletcher, and more. So, and that's very reasonably priced. And Motley Crue, a 12-inch picture disc, Dogs of War. I think this is their new single. So kind of interesting to look at. Haven't heard it. I'm not the hugest Crue fan. You could probably guess. I've got nothing against them. And then Norah Jones. There was a 7-inch that came out this week. Staring at the Wall. And All This Time on Big Crown Records. And CDs, there are also CDs. Let me just run through these really quick. Jerry Garcia Band. This is number 21, volume 21, Berkeley, California, February 13th, 1976. And ends with How Sweet It Is and My Sisters and Brothers. He does Knocking on Heaven's Door, Moonlight Mile. Let's see. I think this came out a couple weeks ago, and we didn't get it when it first came out, but the new Buffalo Tom CD, which I think it's also available on vinyl. Let's see. A new album from RJD2. This is on CD. He's kind of a turntablist and hip-hop kind of sampler guy. It's called Visions Out of the Limelight. I think it's available on vinyl, too. Sugar Ray Rayford, he's a blues guy. This is called Human Decency. I feel like he just had something out recently. Maybe it was a reissue, or maybe this is this is a new one, I think. I don't know a lot about him, but my blues fans would know. New Sammy Kershaw called Crossroad Blues. I haven't seen Sammy in a long time. And yeah, this is apparently a blues album from what they say. Born Under a Bad Sign and ends with Blues Man. So he's on a different label now, Golden Lane. I don't know if that has something to do with like Cleopatra. New Motorhead reissue. This is called Remorse No. Now this is a collection that's been out before. It's not new material. It says a 40th anniversary reimagined redo of 1984's legendary compilation No Remorse on 2 CDs featuring previously unreleased rare and live tracks and new sleeve notes. So it's a double CD now. Jesse Johnson, and he was one of Prince's cohorts. 3 classic albums on 2 CDs featuring the Jesse Johnson Review, Shockadelica, and Every Shade of Blue. Shockadelica, some of you might know, it was a Prince song that he and Jesse worked on, and then Jesse ended up calling his album Shockadelica, but never did the song, at least didn't release it. But I think this does feature one big Prince song on here. Trying to remember which one it is. Anyway, yeah. If you like Prince, all right, Lorena McKennitt live CD, The Mask and the Mirror live. This, I don't think we're going to be getting the vinyl of this. Maybe it's being released elsewhere. But if you liked Mask and Mirror and her sort of kind of mystical Persian kind of sound of that album with lots of harps and stuff, maybe that's for you. And Sun Ra live in Roma 1980. It's another sort of interesting 2 CD Sun Ra collection featuring tracks with that they cover Jelly Roll Morton. Yeah, it looks pretty far out. All right, I was going to do recommends, but I think this video is long enough already, so we'll save that one for another week. Thank you all for joining me, as you always are so kind and gracious in the comments. I really appreciate that. And I love sharing the ideas. And go ahead and post like what you think are the top 10 albums of all time in the comments on that last video. I'd really be interested to see those. I've been trying to keep up with answering those comments. So, all right. Thanks, guys, and have a wonderful weekend. Happy Father's Day. Tell your kids, if you have kids, they need to get out and buy your record. Do something to show that they care. All right. It can't always be all about the kids, right? No, I'm kidding. All right. So whatever. Hey, have a good time. Be safe. Don't do anything I wouldn't do.